Alarms are screaming across my console before I even understand what I am looking at. My hands are shaking on the controls of the Devourer of Weak Worlds, our flagship, and every screen in front of me is turning red at the same time. 30 seconds ago we were laughing. Now half our fleet is gone, and I do not know why. My name is Vex, and I am a sensor officer for the Empire. We came here for one reason: to take a small blue planet called Earth. Our commanders told us it would be easy. They told us the people there had no real defense, no real fleet, nothing that could stop 40 warships built to conquer stars. I believed them. Everyone on this bridge believed them. That belief is what killed most of my crew. We entered this system 3 hours ago. Our scanners painted a picture of a peaceful, sleepy world. Green land, blue oceans, small cities glowing at night. No warships waiting for us. No orbital cannons pointed at the sky. Our commander, a proud man named Doran, stood at the front of the bridge and told us this conquest would take less than a day. He said Earth would join our empire without a single shot fired. Some officers even placed bets on how many hours it would take before the humans surrendered. I remember looking at the small dots scattered around the planet in high orbit. Our systems marked them as old broken satellites, leftover junk from a species too young to understand real war. I almost did not report them. They seemed harmless, like pieces of metal spinning quietly in the dark, forgotten by their own people. I was wrong. We were all wrong. The moment our first landing ships came close enough, those quiet pieces of metal woke up. I do not know how else to explain it. 1 second, the sky above Earth was empty and calm. The next second, every one of those satellites turned toward us at once, moving with a kind of speed and precision I had never seen from any species we had ever fought before. There was no warning, no message asking us to leave, no demand for surrender, just light and fire and silence where our ships used to be. I watched 3 of our escort cruisers vanish from my screen in less time than it takes to breathe. Not damaged, not disabled. Gone, as if they had never existed. My hands went cold. Around me, officers who had fought in a dozen campaigns across a dozen worlds were frozen in their seats, staring at numbers that made no sense. Commander Doran shouted for full shields and a retreat to the outer system. It was already too late for half our ships to obey him. I tried to focus on my sensors, tried to find a pattern, some kind of weakness we could report back to the rest of the fleet. What I found instead terrified me more than the attack itself. These were not new weapons built in a panic. Every system striking us had been sitting there for years, maybe decades, quietly waiting, fully charged, fully ready. Earth had not built a defense because we were coming. Earth had built it a long time ago and simply left it running, in case someone like us ever showed up. A voice came over our command channel, calm and steady, speaking in a human language our translators barely managed to catch in time. It did not sound angry. It did not sound afraid. It sounded almost bored, the way someone might sound when they are doing a job they have done many times before. The voice said a set of numbers, coordinates, and then simply stopped. Seconds later, our main shield generator failed. I felt the entire ship shudder as something outside tore through defenses that had never failed against any other race we had faced. Alarms changed pitch, warning of a hull breach 3 decks below me. Doran ordered everyone to emergency stations, but I could see on my display that most of our fleet was no longer responding at all. I stayed at my console because I did not know what else to do. Running felt pointless when there was nowhere safe to run to. My friend Callan, who worked the station beside mine, grabbed my arm and pointed at his screen. His voice cracked as he spoke. He said only one word: everywhere. He was right. The strikes were not coming from one direction. They were coming from every angle around the planet, perfectly timed, perfectly aimed, as if an unseen hand had been planning this exact moment for a very long time. Our commanders had told us Earth was primitive. Nobody had told us Earth was patient. I do not remember deciding to move. I only remember finding myself running through a shaking corridor toward the escape pods, Callan right behind me, both of us pushed forward by fear neither of us wanted to admit. Sparks fell from broken panels above our heads. The ship groaned, like something alive and dying. We reached the pod bay just as another explosion rocked the deck beneath us. I lost my footing, and Callan pulled me up without slowing down. There was no time for words, only motion, only the desperate hope of reaching a pod before the ship broke apart completely. I sealed myself inside a small pod meant for 2 people. Callan never made it to the door. I saw him turn back toward a trapped crewmate, calling for help from a side corridor, and then the corridor sealed itself off from fire damage before I could see what happened next. I never learned if he made it out. My pod launched into open space, just as the devourer of weak worlds broke into pieces behind me. I watched through a small window as the ship that had carried thousands of us across the stars became nothing more than drifting fragments, lit by the calm light of a sun that did not care what had just happened beneath it. Around me, dozens of similar wrecks tumbled silently, remains of a fleet that had arrived with total confidence only hours before. I counted maybe a dozen escape pods drifting nearby, all that seemed to be left of an invasion force meant to conquer an entire world in a single day. For a long while, I simply floated there, too stunned to think clearly, watching the blue planet turn peacefully below me, as if nothing unusual had happened at all. From this distance, Earth looked exactly like it had on our first approach. Calm, green, blue, innocent-looking, in a way that now felt like the cruelest kind of trick. My scanner picked up movement, and my whole body tensed, expecting another wave of destruction to finish us off. Instead, I saw something I did not expect. Small, sleek human vessels rising quietly from the planet's surface, moving without any wasted motion, gathering slowly around the drifting wreckage of our fleet, like calm rescue workers, arriving at the site of an accident they had clearly seen before. One of these vessels came close enough that my pod's failing systems managed to catch a fragment of their communication. A woman's voice, steady and unhurried, spoke words that our translator struggled to convert quickly enough. I caught only pieces. Something about survivors. Something about bringing us in peacefully. Nothing about revenge or anger or triumph. Another voice answered her. A man this time, his tone almost gentle given everything that had just happened. He said something close to this. Another one thinking we would be easy. We really do get this a lot. I did not understand at first what he meant by that. It was only later, sitting in a quiet holding area aboard one of their ships, wrapped in a strange but comfortable blanket, that a young human named Daniel came to speak with me. He explained, slowly and patiently, that Earth had learned long ago never to trust in quiet skies. He told me that generations of their own history had taught them that peace only lasts as long as you are ready to protect it. So instead of building weapons only when trouble came, they built defenses meant to last for decades, tools that would still be working long after the people who built them were gone. He said their old satellites were never really old. They were simply patient, updated quietly over the years, kept ready in case a fleet like ours ever came looking for an easy conquest. I asked him if this had happened before. He looked at me for a long moment before answering. He said yes, not often, but enough times that Earth had stopped being surprised by it. Sitting there, wrapped in a blanket on a ship belonging to the very people we had come to conquer, I finally understood the full weight of our mistake. We had not invaded a weak, sleeping world. We had walked, confident and unafraid, straight into a trap that had been waiting patiently for longer than most of us had been alive. Doran never made it off our flagship. Neither did most of the officers who had laughed about easy victories only hours before. Out of a fleet of 40 warships and thousands of crew members, only a small handful of us survived to be pulled quietly from the wreckage by the very people we had underestimated. Now, sitting in this quiet room, given food and warmth by hands that could have easily left us drifting in the dark instead, I find myself thinking about how wrong our reports were. Earth was never primitive. Earth was simply waiting, calm and ready, for anyone foolish enough to test it. I do not know what will happen to me now. I do not know if my own people will ever hear this account, or if it will simply become another quiet warning, buried in some forgotten file, much like the satellites that destroyed us were once buried in ours. But if anyone from my empire ever reads these words, I want them to understand one simple truth. Do not mistake calm skies for empty ones. Do not mistake quiet worlds for weak ones. We came expecting an easy conquest, and in a matter of seconds, we learned exactly how wrong we were. Earth was never sleeping. It was only waiting.